and welcome to an episode of Tokyo Reflections with World Athletics and Us, the BackStraight Boys and Girl podcast. I'm Claire.
I'm Jodie. I'm Bayo.
And we have been asked somehow to distill our favourite moments from this summer's Olympic Games into just the very highlights. Welcome along. I think at the time one of you described it as the most Olympics thing ever. But then it was...
It's so Olympic. It's so Olympic.
I was going to say it was also hard exactly to work out the phrasing because it was through, like, bless you, snot bubbles and tears. Because, of course, we are now going to talk about the moment of not just this Games, but arguably all Games.
All Games ever.
And, of course, it's the men's high jump final. It's Barshim. It's Tamberi, it's a symbolic leg cast on the side of the track as the hysterical Italian man sobs, and this sort of grasshopper of Barshim just leaps around the place going absolutely nuts because they've just competed in an incredibly high quality high jump final. But like, who cares about the quality of the final? It's all about the can we have two golds moment and the ensuing pandemonium. God, it was good. Oh, I cannot wait to talk about this one.
Just wait for 1 second, Cara, because I remember a certain somebody not being very happy that they shared two golds.
I stand by this. If I'd been in that situation, I'd have wanted to jump off because I am so competitive and I think if there'd been a shot of me getting a gold, I wouldn't have minded risking losing a silver to get it.
But they both got a gold. There was a chance of you getting a gold.
Oh, but an outright gold. I'd want to be Olympic champion. I know that they're both Olympic champion. So... if it were me, that's what I'd want. But because I love them...
So you want to deprive your friend? Yeah. Would you feel better stood on that top podium looking down at your friend?
Look, you're doing this because it's going to be funny for you too. They are...
You'd never do that to me, would you, Jodie?
No, absolutely not.
We'd share. Let's remember never to compete with Claire. We couldn't anyway, but she beat us.
I just think that we would be, okay, God forbid, well, the state of athletics ever gets to this point, but if the three of us were in an Olympic final... I don't know what, pastry eating or getting athletes' nationalities wrong.
Yeah.
Then if it came down, if there were the option of me having a shot at winning it outright, I'd be an elite competitor and that's what I'd want. But we can put that all to one side because this was a fairy tale moment in athletics, and in that it was those two and in that they had both jumped out of their skins, I'm really happy that happened.
I was on the train here this morning. You know, we're just doing a little bit of research to catch up with stuff, and I watched an interview with Barshim with the BBC afterwards, and he was saying, we've both been competing for 2 hours and we're friends, and he's been really badly injured and I've got, it was two medals before, and I've been injured, and we just looked at each other and said, let's have two golds. And he said that at the evening we were so hyper in the village. We just went for a walk together, and every single person in the village stopped us to talk to us. He said it was a moment that was so much bigger than that. And in the moment, they can't have really known. They weren't thinking, well, you know, Tamberi might have been thinking of the PR, but
where can I get? By the way, I spent yesterday, while I should have been prepping for this, quite a lot of time trying to find the socks that he was wearing on the day. Oh. He had his own face on his socks for the competition. If anyone watching knows where I can buy a pair of Tamberi socks, please put it in the comments below. Let me know. I desperately want a pair.
So what? And you know, I was through my snot and tears when I said it's so Olympic, and I stand by that because whilst I love the actual competition, I suppose I'm kind of an idealist here, and I know the Olympics doesn't really stand for all the things it's supposed to stand for, that. But at the crux of it, it can, you know, and it can. And when it does, that's when the Olympics is at its best. Yeah. And the very fact that these two people put togetherness and fellowship and friendship and everything above their own ambitions is everything that the Olympics. While achieving their own ambitions, exactly. There were no losers, and because, as you were just saying, they've both been to injury. Barshim has got a bronze and has he got two silvers now. So it just wasn't worth the risk for any of them. And also, we're sat there. I know the rules. You know, I knew that they could do this, and I was sort of thinking, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? Because in the nicest possible way, athletes, we sometimes know the sport better than the athletes do. You know, and whether they...
And sometimes they feel pressured into
Exactly,
doing a jump
So
off.
there's me thinking, just take 2 goals, which is what my immediate reaction was. So when I saw them doing it, and we had to shush Claire, didn't we? We had to shush her because, like, we were sort of winning them on, and couldn't quite hear what was going on. That moment, when they don't even wait for the moment to reply properly, they've already decided. And I love that. I love that, taking their own fate in their own hands. They didn't sort of like and ah and sort of ask politely. They did ask politely, but then had already decided the answer, hadn't they? That to me is the moment of the games, of the athletics, of the whole games, of the entire Olympic movement. As far as I'm concerned, I will never ever. I haven't cried as much at athletics events since Kelly won her first gold in 2004. So Kelly Holmes' gold is the only other moment that comes close to that for me.
When Christina Hoigu won, I did do an involuntary forward roll across my living room.
Roly-poly, yeah.
Oh, I remember this. I've heard this story. It's so good. I cried quite a lot this Olympics. I think it was a combination of like kind of being in semi-lockdown for it, and the fact we were all so sleep deprived, and the fact that all of our favourite British athletes kept getting injured. But it was a very tearful Olympics for me. But I just wanted to rewind, because obviously that was the grand finale of the high jump competition, but also it was a bloody good high jump final. Like Brandon Stark and Woo Sang-yok of Korea and a fair few other athletes were over like 2:35. We haven't seen men's high jump be that competitive in a fair few years now. There tends to be one outlier.
And
who mops
also,
things
this
up.
year, the high jump had not been a high quality event. It was kind of like, remember beforehand, we had a discussion talking about who's going to win stuff, and you and I had a bit of a to-do about whether we wanted Tamberi or Barshim to win. So even just because of that, it was like the perfect result for us, because we all got to be in a happy place, didn't we? Yeah. Just watching it on the way in, I did tear up again on the train.
Oh.
It's just so emotional. And what I also love about it is these moments in sport that transcend sport.
Absolutely, exactly.
That, yes, it's great that they both got a gold medal. We know their backstory, but that kind of fellowship and the friendship that Bayo was talking about, that does transcend sport. It was like headlines across the world.
Yeah, back pages to front pages.
Exactly. And was it Jimmy Kimmel they were on, or in America? I mean, that doesn't happen.
Were they?
Athletes don't.
That's amazing.
Not even just athletes, but like athletes in general, but sort of foreign athletes certainly don't end up on American prime time.
But it's going to be one of those stories that goes down in Olympic folklore,
Exactly,
right?
100%.
The ones that we talk about from every Olympics.
Yeah.
And they, by doing that kind of little bit of selflessness, they have made something that is iconic forever, and they are going to be remembered forever, and they can dine out on this 10 times as much as if they got an individual gold.
100%.
And they're going to be invited to every Olympics in the future, and they're going to be handing out medals
going to be handing out
together.
medals, exactly,
And the other bit, because of COVID, like people weren't putting medals on, so they put them on each other.
Can we just remember World Athletics? The biggest star in the sport does not need to be a sprinter.
And that is so relevant to that, because what I was about to say is what kind of contextualises how huge that moment was the men's 100-metre final was next, and none of us could have cared less. Another big moment for Italy, admittedly, but
We were still crying about the high jump, weren't we?
You were watching it through Kleenex and like shuddering sobs. It was and also didn't they have to wrap up their set because they were still both celebrating, and they had to like kick them out of the arena to do the men's 100-metre.
But once again, like Bayo just said, it doesn't have to be a male sprinter. What great ambassadors.
Yes.
Like Barshim from the Middle East, being like the best high jumper for the last 10 years, has won everything going. That's an area that we don't, and also a lot of the Middle Eastern athletes are not natively from the Middle East. They're Kenyans, they're Ethiopians. He is so. He speaks perfect English, which it shouldn't be, but is a very important part of the marketing. Tamberi is like Usain Bolt. He has the same personality. He has the same way of interacting with people. He is the life and soul of the party. He has an eye for the theatrics and an eye for PR like nobody else. Bringing his cast with him and laying it on the track is just total and utter genius.
It was like, actually thinking about it, the whole competition was just a series of vignettes, wasn't it? Like if someone could do a comic book story, there would be, there'd be like Woo's mad celebrations, there'd be Stark's roommate with that Stark's roommate running number that he had on. There'd be the incredible moment when Barsham got so excited to clear a height that he threw off his ridiculous Terminator goggles and then backhanded them across the high jump pit and broke them, and then immediately pulled out an identical bag from his bag and put them on. And then there'd be the 2 golds moment, and then there'd be the cast, and then there'd be the medal ceremony. It was just, Yeah, make that happen. Let's have a movie.
I'm just going to say I can't wait for the film. There's going to be a film.
But just going forward, the men's high jump has been one of those events that in the last 10 years has had, like, I think it was 2014, was like the most ridiculous.
Yeah.
Everyone was sort of jumping.
3 people over 240.
Yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous. It was like the best event in the world. And then it goes off the boil a little bit, it's come back, but there's so many personalities. And going forward to next year, there are a lot of high jumpers about at the moment. A lot of people around 235 that are going to improve, and it's going to be a really good championships next year in Oregon because you've got obviously these two. We've got who came third? Nadescal from Belarus. Like you said, we've got Brandon Stark. We've got the new guy from, what did you say? From
Woo Sang-hyuk of Korea, who was so entertaining.
Who I'd never heard of before.
Javon Harrison in his home, in his home nation.
I was going to say.
There's so many around, like 230, 233, 235, and you don't know what's going to win. It's not like you can win at 233 sometimes. So it's going to be really great competition to have those two back competing against each other in America, where people know who they are because of this moment, much more so than if they won individual gold medal. So it's going to be a highlight. It's going to be something that people are going to be watching, and it's going to be something that's going to have a big spotlight on it. And we need more of that for field events. We love field events. We don't think field events get enough promotion, but this is a perfect opportunity to really make the highlight of a games this event.
Thanks very much for watching this episode of Tokyo Reflections with us, the BackStraight Boys and Girl podcast. I've been Claire.
I'm Jodie. I'm Bayo. If you'd like to listen to the podcast, you can find us on Twitter under the BackStraight Boys, on Instagram, and we have lots of guests, we have lots of chat, we have lots of irreverence, and we get lots of facts wrong.
So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you all in Eugene.